Hi, my name is Ben Plessier and I am a fervent user of Wappler. With this video, I continue with the client side of the Products CRUD page. In the last videos, I created the CRUD actions for the categories page. This video will show a different user experience. Please be aware that I am not advocating changing users' experience within a project, I am merely wanting to show you a different way so that you can make a calculated decision on which to choose. This is what I am talking about. When I go to add a new category, a collapsible region show the insert form. The update form is shown when I choose a category. And a browser confirmed dialog appears when the delete button is clicked. For the products page, I want to change these behaviors to using modals instead. To add a new product, the add product form appears in a modal. Same with the edit and delete actions. Once again, do not use two different user experience methods in the same project. If you prefer this method, then change the methods for the categories page. Alternatively, use the same method as the categories page for this page. For your information, I will be using the modals method throughout the rest of this playlist. Right. Let's get down to business. With the products page opened in Wappler, my habit is to create the data sources first. That way I can see if the created code works with the data. I will need a data source for the categories, hence I add it to the page. I also need a filtered data source for the categories. I will need to come back here to enter the value for the filter. The data source for the products. The filtered data source for the products. Again, I will come back here for the filter. Lastly, a data detail data source for the product. Now for the layout. There is already a row and column for the heading. The next row and column needs to be created for the filter function. Then come a row and two columns, one column for the products listing and one for the product detail. As well as this layout, we need three modals, one each for the create, update and delete forms. With that in mind, I create a row and a column after the existing row. Then I duplicate the row and add a second column. Here I resize the first column. Then I select the container and add a modal after it. First, I add a fade effect. Then I delete the annoying button at the top right. And change the wording of the close button to cancel. I replicate the modal a couple of times and change the ID of each modal. That's it for the layout. Now for the content. First on the list is the search input and the Add Product button. For this, I select the column in the row after the page title. I add a paragraph containing an instruction. After the paragraph, I add a text input. There is no need for a form because no information will be sent to the server. I add a recognizable ID and name for the text input. Then convert it to a Tagify. The mode is set to select. Categories is the data source. The text field is the name of the category and the value is the ID of the category. Scrolling down, I set the minimum number of characters to 0. Now for the Add Product button. For this I add a second column and add a button inside of it. The button gets the usual treatment. Button text, ID and style. Remember that pressing this button reveals the Add Product modal. This is done by an action toggle pointing to the modal. Now for the aesthetics. I want the button to be on the same level as the text input. For this I select the row and vertical align. Then I scroll down and add a bottom margin to separate this row from the next. The column containing the text input gets narrowed down. I apologize for my clumsiness. It would have been easier to have changed the column width from the canvas. And the bottom margin is removed from the paragraph. I then save the file, only so that the code will be properly formatted. The last thing that I want to do in this area is to hide the Add Products button when no category has been chosen. I select the button and scroll down to Dynamic Attributes. Here I choose Display and Show. For the when, I select the value of the search text input. If this has no value, it will emit a value of false. In other words, the button will remain hidden. Now that we have a filter, I can apply this to the filtered data sources. First up is the category data view. This is filtered on the ID of the dataset equal to the value of the filter. For the second filtered data source, the category ID is equal to the value of the filter. Now for the CRUD actions. First up is Create. For this, I select the Add Product modal. Remove the paragraph and replace it with a table created using generators. The server action is the Upsert API. My preference is a vertical form type. The only fields that are required here are name and category ID, so I remove the rest, including the Save button. I will use the modal button for this. The value of the category ID is obtained from the filter, hence I hide it. The value, as said, comes from the filter. The form gets a recognizable ID. Then I scroll down to Dynamic Events. When the form has been successfully submitted, I want to send a success notification, refresh the data source and close the modal. Now for a few final adjustments. The modal title. The Submit button. While the button is selected, go to Dynamic Events and add a mouse on Click Event. The action is to submit the form. When the modal is closed, I want to reset the form so that we do not get confronted with previous inputs. Save the file, mainly to reformat the code. Let's see what the outcome is so far. I switch the preview mode on, select a category and click on the Add Product button. A modal appears asking for the product name. So far, so good. Next is the read function in CRUD. This will consist of list of products in the left column and a detailed view in the right column. If no category has been chosen, then this row should not be visible. For this, I scroll down to Dynamic Attributes and choose to show the row when the filter has a value. Now, anything that we add to this row will not be available in the design view. Therefore I turn App Connect off. Then I select the first column and add a descriptive paragraph. This message should only be seen when there are no products listed in the chosen category. So, under Dynamic Attributes, I select to hide the paragraph when there are products in the category. The list of products appears under the paragraph. For this, I go to the Generators section and select the table generator. The table is populated from the Products Data View data source. A few of the options are turned on. I suppose that I could have included the striped option. Never mind. The only field that I want to show is the name of the product. Therefore, I delete the rest. This table should only be visible when there are products listed in the chosen category. So, like the paragraph, I go to Dynamic Attributes and, this time, select to show the table when there are products in the category. A little bit of housekeeping, where I change the ID of the repeat region. When I click on a product name, I want the data detail data source to be populated with the details of the product. For this, I select the row and add a mouse on click event. For the action, I select the data detail, filtered on the ID of the chosen product. I also want the selected product to be highlighted. I add a class toggle with a bootstrap class name of background warning. The condition is, when the ID of the chosen product is the same as the ID of the data detail. Now for the last part of the read function. This time, to show the product details. First off, let me show the column only when there is data in the product data detail data source. Then I add the data detail table using generators. The data will come from the data detail data source. The table type is changed to vertical. I select a couple of the table options. Then I remove the product ID and move the category field to the top of the table. I should also have removed the image field here. Never mind, I will remove it later on. I will be dealing with images in a future video. To make sure that the table column widths remain the same for each instance, I set the width of the first column to 25%. Instead of showing the ID of the category, I want the name of the category. This value is obtained from the category data view. The price needs to be correctly formatted. The image field is deleted here. Live and featured are Boolean values. In other words, they are either 0 or 1. Rather than showing the numerals, I want to show a yes or no. So, when the value is 1. Use the ternary operator to show yes for the truthy value, and no for the falsy value. On closer inspection, something is not right here. There is a closing bracket that should not be there. So, remove it. Save the file and we are done for the read function in CRUD. Let's see what we have produced so far. Here I choose a category only to find that there are no products listed in the category. Fortunately, there is the Add Product button, which, when clicked on, reveals a modal containing the Add Product form. I enter the name of one of our many clothing items and click on a second Add Product button. A message in the top right corner tells me that the product has been added. I can also see the product listed. When I click on the product, this is highlighted while the details are shown in the right-hand column. All that is missing are a couple of buttons that allow us to update and delete the product. But hey, it is time for my Nana nap. This means the conclusion of this video and wanting to see you in video part 2. Thank you for watching.